Hi, guys. It's Sven from Badass Counseling. So we created the Badass Counseling group on Facebook, and it grew to well over 45,000 members. And we kept getting asked by folks for a support group, a growth group that's more intimate, gives more access to me, Sven, if possible. So the Badass Counseling team got together, and they created Community Plus. For a monthly fee that isn't cheap, you get direct access to me 2 times a month where you can submit your questions directly. Monthly drawings for a small group counseling session with me. Monthly drawings for one-on-one counseling sessions with me. Priority Pass access to go to the front of the waiting list for ongoing counseling with me. Priority Pass access to be considered to be counseled by me on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Direct access to my top 2 selling video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. Interviews with people who've had success in their soul journey, some well-known and some everyday folks like you and me. And a fantastic opportunity to meet and get to know other men and women who take their healing and growth seriously and who do the work. And a social community feed where folks share their challenges, their struggles, and their triumph. And so much more. So go now to badasscounseling.com. Click on the Community Plus sign-up page for premium content and direct access to me and to like-minded people who are committed to healing, growth, and creating a community of support and happiness.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
Well, hello, people. It's great to have you here. You have reached a live taping of the Badass Counseling Show, and I am your host, Sven Erlandson. I am joined in studio by my team, Rob the Rocket over on the board, and I've got KC over in the booth. Whether you are tuning in from Texas or Ontario or in Montreal, where they claim to have the best bagels in the world, or maybe you're down from Port Macquarie down in Australia, we love having you here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Rob, how are you today, young man?
I'm fine, Sven. Thank you very much. And, whenever I start thinking about how bad things are, then times are so tough. Times are always tough. And so we find our way through. We enjoy the passage of time. That's the secret.
It is. And one of the hardest things to do is to let go of that desire for permanence. And not just permanence that I'm going to be here forever, but permanence in a relationship, permanence that things are going to stay the same, that my memory is going to be the same tomorrow. You actually have a great memory, Rob, and I was just thinking about you the other day. I feel like your brain is in better shape than mine is at 58. And it's the passage of our bodies, that it's not permanent, what it was. It can't do what it once did. Do you struggle with permanence, Rob?
Yeah, of course. And my great memory is mostly for song lyrics, which isn't really all that productive and helpful. And it's just blocked at all the important stuff.
Well, no, I disagree, because a great song lyric at the right time says the right thing. Those of you who have read Hole in My Love Cup, and I think I might have even put it in Badass Wisdom, and you've heard me on the show. How many times have you heard me quote that line from 38 Special of Hold On Loosely? I mean, that's just classic, but there's so many. There are so many, and I don't just mean 38 Special, but there are so many great lines of music, so many great lyrics that are so apropos.
I already used one at the beginning of this show. It's James Taylor. The secret of life is enjoying the passage of time. So
there it is. There it is. And I missed it. See, that's the thing, is having those lines is so much better when you're with someone who knows the references, not a Dumbo like me.
Beg your pardon, you are not.
Well, and that was one of the things, my present girlfriend, she said, my last boyfriend that she was with for several years, and he's a extremely intelligent professor and so forth, but he's about 10, 15 years her junior, and he said, she said, we just didn't have one of the only ways we didn't connect was on sort of cultural references from his era versus my era. Versus me, it's just like all 70s rock and some 60s rock and stuff, and a little bit of 80s, but mainly 70s rock. It's like, okay, we've got a point of connection. We have something in common. Nothing else but that one thing.
Right.
Well, Rob, I think we have some work to do here today, so we're going to go ahead and dive right in. I've got questions lined up and people firing in even more, and I've got one right in front of me here. We're going to start it off on TikTok. Cheese Wheel asked the question, Sven, would you believe in a love at first sight? Would I? Yes. And in fact, I have engaged in that, and I very much believe in it. However, how you respond after that is the real issue. Once, when all 6 of us siblings, my 5 siblings and myself, we were all married at one point and had wives, and a few of us had children. And I recall all of us sitting around the dinner table, my parents' dinner table. It was either Christmas or Thanksgiving, likely. And I remember asking the question of each of my siblings and each of the spouses, how far into the relationship was it when you knew? Well, knew what, Sven? Knew that this was the person you wanted to be with forever. Every single person around that table knew within 1 month. I think most of them were actually 3 weeks. Within 3 weeks. Now, you're saying love at first sight. Yeah, absolutely. Because I've had so many people in my interactions in life, as a counselor, as a friend, whatever, who have said, yeah, we've been together for, 20, 40, 60, 70 years, and it was love at first sight. However, the real question is, what do you do once it's love at first sight? And the big mistake that people do, and this isn't just love at first sight, this is dating in general, and this is why I've really been on a dating kick, talking about dating over the last few years, how important dating is. Because even if it's love at first sight, if you just go all in and you go everything out there, and I'm going to just throw all my stuff out there, and here's everything that I am, and I'm going to trust you completely and all that, that's the problem. It's not the love at first sight. That's wonderful. But what I recommend is going in on sort of a 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 1-to-2 basis. I invest a bit of myself and I watch. Do you invest a bit of yourself? I'm vulnerable a bit with you, then you're vulnerable a bit with me. And we're each making small investments, then maybe a little bit more medium-sized investments. But if I go all in and say, no, I'm pushing all in, baby, I am all in, I'm going to reveal everything and put all my wants and hopes and everything out there, then you got to be okay if they don't. And you don't just keep giving if they pull back and say, why would I fucking invest? Why would I be more vulnerable? Why would I trust more or reveal more of my aspirations or open up to you? I don't have to. I already get everything. So it's not so much that you're doing it to be controlling. You're just doing it to take your fucking time. And that's the thing. Nothing wrong with love at first sight. Just take your time. There's no rush. Right? But we so often get into the notion of, no, it's got to be right now, and it has to be this person I feel, and we let our feelings get so big that they overwhelm everything. And that's why it's so important that we're always flushing our feelings out. Why? So that we just relax. Just relax. All right, next question. Here we go. Mohawk Warrior asks the question, and Mohawk Warrior is joining us from Montreal. Montreal Mohawk Warrior. Say that 3 times fast. My partner lost her son 6 weeks ago. And her brother 3 weeks ago. Oh, mother of God. How can I help her grieve? My partner lost her son 6 weeks ago and her brother 3 weeks ago. How can I help her grieve? I'm going to be very, very honest with you. First of all, there is nothing you can do to make her grieve. Though you didn't say that, did you? You said, how can I help her grieve? The way you help her grieve is by fundamentally making a shift inside of yourself. And this is not something you're going to be able to do overnight. This is something you're going to have to remake every day, every week, every month for likely years. Because those are 2 profound losses, the loss of a son and the loss of a brother in such a compressed amount of time. She's going to require so much patience, and you being available for her and your willingness to listen. The way you help your partner grieve or help anyone grieve that you care about is you become extraordinarily deliberate about flushing your own shit out, because it's not going to be very long before you're feeling like, yeah, but what about my needs? And those are legitimate needs because you are still in a relationship. But you're going to have to undergo a metamorphosis of it being a much more equal symbiotic relationship to you are about to go into a stretch of time and a stretch of energy where it's about her, where she's now making massive withdrawals on this relationship, either because she is grieving or worse, because she's not grieving. And that's going to manifest in so many ways, and you're going to see it. So you help her grieve by yourself emptying all of your feelings of animus, of anger, of frustration, of disappointment, of why isn't she doing this? Or, grieving more. Why isn't she going to a therapist? I don't understand. And you're wanting to help her. And she's not sort of on your ideas, or she's taking it at her own speed, or she's just rejecting it completely, or saying nothing's wrong, whatever it might be. But you have to get your agenda out of the equation, and it's hard to do. And you have to get your feelings, and I don't mean your natural feelings of wanting love and wanting a relationship. That's legit, and you have every right to want that and to gently keep the team on track towards that. But if you're going to be truly present for her, the biggest thing that stands up getting in the way is all of your own jumble of emotions inside. Now, see, the overlay of this, the reason this is such a good question is because this applies also when there's been a family where, let's say, the children are young and one of the children dies. Or the children are young and one of the children is, let's say, a golden child who, let's just say, has a massive figure skating career and they're figure skating or their piano playing is just taking off. And you really want to invest in that child. And it's so easy to get so caught up in the needs of one of the children. Or if you have a child that dies, it's so easy to get caught up in your own feelings that the other children are being neglected. And so part of your role in her life is to help her not neglect, without being scolding, to help her not neglect the other people, specifically her other children, if there are some, in her life. But ultimately, the biggest thing that's going to stand in the way of you being just a kind and patient and loving partner is all of your feelings inside, which you have to be deliberate about getting them the hell out of you. All right, next question. Wendy Potter asked the question over on Facebook. How do I stop loving a man of 30 years that cheated on me instead of working on it? The way you stop loving anyone, or the way you're talking about a feeling. How do I make myself stop feeling a feeling is what you just asked. He cheated. You were together 30 years. He cheated. And now you're saying, hey, I still have all these feelings. How do I stop feeling these feelings? The way you stop anything, the way you let go of someone, people always saying, oh, you just need to let go. I was going through the divorce. My first wife had divorced me. And, 2.5 years later, people are saying, you just got to let go, Sven. This is just too much. You just got to let go. And I'm like, yeah, but how? I mean, just saying let go. You talk about a blandishment with no substance. Just let go. Oh, thanks, genius. That's brilliant. Really? And my response to that is the way you let go is by holding on as tightly as you can. It's counterintuitive. But what that means is rather than trying to get away from the feelings, running from them, or trying to get them, just get away. I don't want to feel it and it's too painful and I want to get on with my life. Where in this case, isn't it interesting that this love I have for this man of 30 years that cheated on me instead of working on it, you have love, you have anger, you have betrayal, you have rage, you have all these feelings, but how do I stop loving? So in a way, your love is bad. Isn't that interesting? We don't often think of love as being a negative emotion, but in this case, this negative emotion is keeping you stuck in this past relationship, stuck, miserable inside, because that love is mixed with longing, is mixed with what I can't have, is mixed with a sense of betrayal. And so you're stuck, and the love is sort of keeping you stagnant, and it hurts. So in this case, what do? You hold on as tightly as you can. What that means is it's a two-phase process. You bring up, you welcome all of those feelings up from within. That's phase one, welcoming the feelings. And so many people don't like to do that. So many people don't like to touch their feelings, don't like to welcome them. Why? Because if I touch it, then they might overwhelm me. It's too scary. I might be stuck in those feelings forever. They might never go away. Or I just don't like how they feel. And so for a lot of people, they can't or they won't bring up those feelings. They won't welcome those feelings. So they're spending so much life energy compressing them, pressing them down. So phase one is welcoming them up. And then phase two is giving them a point of exit, a point of egress. And that's what the journaling is. That's what therapy, good therapy, is supposed to be about. Not just, hey, what kind of week did you have? It's about going into all those things that are deep inside of you, all those massive feelings and pain and emotionally charged memories that have emotional charges attached to them, and decharging those memories. And that's what you can be doing with your journaling, writing letters to your ex. Specifically, you should be writing letters to your ex that you do not send, do not send, do not send, do not send. That's how you let go. That's how you move on, by getting out of you the very thing that's keeping you stuck. And what's keeping you stuck is all of those feelings. Next question. All right, here we go. Steffi says, when my guy gets mad / insecure / scared, he gets mean, name calling and all. How do I stop him? Okay, Stephanie is a regular listener to the show. And so Stephanie, that's actually a great question, because you're not the only one that struggles with that. And this isn't just something that women struggle with. This is something that men struggle with. You'd be surprised how many men are afraid of their spouses. In no small part because a lot of men have been conditioned to, you can't fight back. And I don't just mean physically, but you defer to a woman or taught that you always serve, which for a lot of men means give, and quiet your own voice. But in this case, you say, when my guy gets mad, insecure, scared, he gets mean, name calling and all. How do I stop him? First of all, what you do is you are not required to stay in the conversation. You can walk away, which of course is only going to make him meaner and madder and all those things. But in the end, you don't have to take it. You can leave. And if he physically blocks your door, I had a woman that I was in a long-term relationship with, and she would physically block the door we'd be in a fight, and I'd say, I need to physically leave this house right now. And she would block the door. And I would have to squirt around her. And that's when you got to be careful, especially as a guy, especially as a big guy. I'd have to squeeze around her or run out the back door, because it's just if as a big man, who do you think police are going to believe if they fucking show up at our door, even if I didn't do shit? Who do you think they're going to believe? The big guy who looks like he eats small children for lunch? Yeah, right. Okay. So in this case, what do? Get the hell out, first of all. Second of all, two of you need to be in counseling to address this. But third of all, the real question I want to ask you point blank, Steffi, is this. What percent are you enjoying being in a relationship with him, and what percent does him being mad, insecure, and scary when he gets mean, and him getting mean when he's feeling mad, insecure, and scared, what percent does that make you want to leave? What percent do you want to stay in this relationship, and what percent do you want to leave, if you were to be totally honest? Because what you're fundamentally doing is you are staying in a relationship with someone who chooses not to do the work to change themselves. Because it would be really interesting to ask you, does he know that he's mad, insecure, and scary, and that he's mean? Does he know that he's mean and name calling? And if he denies that he is mean and name calling, if he tries to justify it, then he's acknowledging that he knows what he's doing. And him making up excuses, or him trying to deny it, is him acknowledging that him doing it is bad. So he likely knows he's doing it, and he is admitting it's bad, and yet he keeps doing it. And so if you don't take him to therapy or insist that he gets therapy, you are giving him a green light to keep doing it. And at some point, you have to ask yourself the question, and this is the sort of question that a great, best friend, one of your great girlfriends, or your favorite auntie, or your grandfather would say to you. So I'll say it to you now, and that is, why are you staying? At some point, you got to get the fuck out. You are basically saying it's okay to treat me this way by you staying in this relationship. How do you get him to stop? Until you are willing, at least in your head, to pay the ultimate price of walking away from him, sacrificing the relationship. He knows he's got you. He knows he's got you, that you will not. So even if you escalate, he'll escalate higher, and he'll get his boot right back on your throat. You've got to be willing to walk away and mean it. Now, with that in mind, then you have some leverage when it comes to, we got to go to therapy, or you have to go to therapy, because this is out of fucking control and I'm not taking it anymore. And if you're not willing to follow through on that, then it's just a bluff, and he will call your bluff. All right, next relationship. Amber Chase is checking in from Mandan, North Dakota. My cousins used to live there. It's actually real close to Rugby, if I'm not mistaken, which is the geographical center of North America. All right, next question. Rob, you've got one for me.
Yes, Sven, over on YouTube, Mark Doucette, I think, is looking for an acknowledgement from you. And he says, I wrote a journal letter to my brother, got 3 pages. Then I started having some strong thoughts about him while I was shoveling snow. And my thought was, nope, you already wrote a letter, so drop it. Is this good?
No, it's not. The first part is good, that you wrote a 3-page letter to your brother. That's fantastic. And then when you're out snow shoveling, which is always a fun winter activity, at least the first time, and then all these feelings are coming up and thoughts are coming up regarding your brother, and you said, no, I can't do this. I already wrote the letter. No, dude. No. The whole purpose of doing the letter writing and doing the journaling is to continue to do it until it's gone. And the truth is, if something new comes up, then you journal on that. I still journal today, especially when I'm at the gym. I love journaling when I'm at the gym. Why? Especially on the stuff that I'm mad about, or that I have rage about, or I'm all hopped up about. Why? It just gets me cranked up even more for my sets. But no, it's just, there's always going to be new stuff in life. And if you're in a relationship with anyone, even with my girlfriend, there's always new stuff I'm journaling about with regard to her. And I know she's journaling about stuff with regard to me. writing letters that I don't send. Why? Because there's just always new stuff in life. So it's not a one and done deal, dude. But I understand your question, and that's a reasonable question. It's not a dumb question, but it's an ongoing thing. It's never a once and for all, especially in our longest term relationships. There's going to be so much more that comes up. I will literally, no exaggeration, folks, I will literally wake up in the middle of the night, wake up to go to the bathroom, and I'm coming back and I'm laying in bed for a minute, and sometimes, or when I first wake up in the morning, when sort of my armor is down, I haven't put on my shit shield for the day, so to speak, where I'll have some memory, like let's say it's 10th grade in biology class with Miss Ellingson, and God, I said that thing. It was so embarrassing. I can't believe it. And I maybe haven't thought about that memory literally since 10th grade. But I think about it now and I feel embarrassed. So what do? I either start journaling or I use some other releasing techniques that I have, and I just go through it right there. And then that memory and the emotional charge attached to it is gone. But there's always going to be new stuff, especially, and the more you get in the habit of allowing those old memories to come up and decharging them, when they do come up, the more that's going to come up, and the more you're going to decharge those, and then more, and decharge those. And what's the effect? You get lighter. You get happier, you get stronger, and you get clearer. Why? Because you're getting rid of all this shit that you've been carrying around for so fucking long. So what that tells me, Mr. Doucette on YouTube, is that there's just a lot of shit there with your brother. And dude, I got 4 older brothers, all right? And 1 older sister. I got plenty of shit that I think about it that comes up, and I journal on that, or I do some of my releasing techniques on that. And I'm sure they do on me too, all right? And that's just part of life. The longer a relationship, the more shit you're going to have with someone. All right, we're going to take a very short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Okay, well, you've heard the podcast. You've listened to other people's issues. Maybe you've studied hundreds of Sven's TikTok videos. Time to stop lurking, face your fears, and focus directly on the one person in your life who can benefit the most from Sven's experience and insight. Now, that would be you. Just go to badasscounseling.com and order Sven's book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. Or check out his many video courses. Sven found a way to help himself out of a 12 years depression. It worked for him, and it can work for you too. Check out badasscounseling.com today.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform, and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
And we are back with more questions. We are live presently on YouTube, on Facebook, and on TikTok, taking your questions. And we've got another one right here. This is from DBlues11 on TikTok. Why do some people choose to destroy relationships by never taking accountability? Because it is about self-protection. That I would rather lose you and lose this relationship than have to face the stuff that I have done wrong. Because when that admitting what I've done wrong, or apologizing, or taking ownership of pain I've caused or how I've let you down, makes me feel bad in the moment, because it means I screwed up. And if you've been conditioned, if you were growing up conditioned to believe at being attacked when you screwed up or criticized a lot, you're very sensitive to, I've done something bad, therefore I must be bad. And they don't want, so somebody in a relationship who doesn't want to own their shit, they want to keep the focus on you, or at the very least, they don't want anything to look bad about them. So it's better to end the relationship than to own my stuff, because I feel so bad as a person. And you guys have heard me talk about this before. One of the great distinctions that my parents drew in the parenting of us was that they would say, for instance, Sven, if I did something, let's say I started a fire on the stove accidentally, but it's because I was being stupid and I was fucking around rather than, keep an eye on the stove. Mom would say, Sven, you're not a dumb person, you just did a dumb thing. Or Sven, you're not a bad person, you just did a bad thing. They drew a divorce between the action and the identity of the person. But someone who doesn't want to own their stuff, someone who would rather bolt from a relationship rather than work on the relationship and talk about things that they did wrong, believes that for them to admit what they've done wrong means they are a bad person, that they are a letdown. If I've hurt you, if I've let you down, then I'm not good enough. So it reminds them of the messages they got as a child, and that is too painful. That is why someone will end a relationship rather than own their shit in a relationship. Next question. This is from Diane Perella over on Facebook. How do I move on after the sudden loss of my beautiful 16-year-old daughter? Oh, gosh. First of all, Diane, I am so sorry. I cannot even imagine. And please know that all of our hearts are going out to you. How do I move on after the sudden loss of my beautiful 16-year-old daughter when I have severe trauma from the emergency room experience and frequent flashbacks? We were extremely close, and she was like my little shadow. So her absence is tangible. Of course it is. I want to move forward and feel joy again, but I'm stuck, and trauma is debilitating. Oh, you bet it is. All right, Diane, this is similar to the question I answered just a minute ago when I was talking about how do you let go by holding on as tightly as you can. You are not, if you had the sudden loss of your beautiful 16-year-old daughter, you don't say how long ago it was, but the truth is there is no time limit on grieving at all. Any person. And the closer a person is to you, or the closer your pet is to you, the longer it's going to take, generally speaking. And no one can tell you otherwise. So your desire to move forward is great. But the bottom line is, until all of your pain, all of your rage, all of your sorrow, all of your disappointment, all of your every single feeling in the book, until that is out of you, or at least a whole lot of it is out of you, you're not ready to move forward, no matter how badly you want it. Now, I am willing to bet, Diane, and I could be wrong, I'm willing to bet that it's been a while since your daughter died. And the only reason I say that is because you say, I want to feel joy again, but I'm stuck and my trauma is debilitating. Someone wanting to feel joy again is someone who is likely that they're removed more by time, by a greater amount of time from that trauma, from that death. All right? It's neither right or wrong. It just is. And so what that means is that and the fact that you're having flashbacks and severe trauma from the ER experience and the flashbacks, what that tells me is you've got so much emotion and highly charged memories with emotional charges attached to them that have not been decharged. And I have to believe, I have never lost a child, but I have counseled countless people who have over the decades. And one of the things that happens is there is such a fear of going into all of those feelings and beginning the process of flushing out all of those feelings. A fear, why? Fear that it'll overwhelm me and just kill me. Fear that it'll never stop. Fear that if I actually do get it all out and move on, that somehow I'm letting go of, or I will lose my child a second time. Because it's that pain that keeps me connected to them, which for someone who's never experienced that would sound crazy. Why would you want to hold on to the pain? Because it keeps me connected. I can still feel her. And it's hard to let go of that. And it's scary to let go of that, on top of the fact that it's scary to consider feeling those feelings, all those feelings of the ER experience and the loss and the grief afterwards and all of it. But that is the path. The path from the pain is through the pain. And so it means even if you just do it in micro doses, in small doses, bringing up a bit of the pain, when you're in one of those flashbacks, get a pen and paper and start writing about it. In my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup, I talk about a couple other tools you can use that I teach in the book, and reference points that I reference for how to get those feelings out. But what is at the root of all of them? And a therapist, of course, a grief therapist, a grief group. Grief groups are fantastic. And there are groups. Go to NAMI.org. And they have all sorts of groups free and so forth that they can connect you with around the country in the U.S., around North America, if you're in North America. But a grief group, especially a grief group specifically for having lost a child, is fantastic. Why? You're instantly in a room with people who understand absolutely what you have gone through and are going through. But the bottom line is you have to begin the deliberate process of flushing out all of your pain, sadness, rage, frustration, anger, everything. You have to begin that process. If you desire joy, it requires getting the pain out. Otherwise, that will forever be an anchor around you. And it doesn't mean you're letting go of her. I have to believe that your 16-year-old daughter wants you to be happy. But she also knows that you have to grieve. You have to cry it out. You have to rage at the sky, at God, at the universe. rage at anyone, in your journaling and in your therapy, but you have to begin the process of getting all of that out. And again, please know that we are sending only love from this show and only our warmest consolations to you, and hoping that you will go into it.
I have to underscore your comment about the grief group. I joined one after my brother died and my wife left me and I got cancer all at once. And that community was so supportive and so loving. It just worked miracles. I can't recommend that sort of thing enough.
Yeah, I remember you talking about them, Rob, when we'd come to tapings and so forth, how you had a great group, and this particular person made this comment or and so forth, and you are absolutely right, and I completely agree with you. Next question.
Sven, on YouTube, Newt says, how do I stop going in circles asking myself why when I am journaling?
Because you haven't answered the question. You keep asking yourself why, and then what you do, this is great. What Newt is talking about over on YouTube, this is actually a great question, and one of the most functional questions, operational questions for taking yourself deeper into yourself when you are journaling is to keep asking yourself things like why? What was really going on inside of me? What am I feeling right now? Why is discomfort, why is this feeling rising up in me right now? What's the fear in looking at this? Why? Because it's going to take you deeper into yourself. So you asked specifically, Newt, why does why feel like in your journaling, why does the word why or the question why always feel like a loop? Because you're not taking it down into a deeper question or into deeper answers. And so what you do when you ask the question is start just speculating answers with the question, what might it be? What might be the why? We just taped an episode of the show, the counseling shows, which go up on Thursday nights. We taped an episode right before we started taping this live lightning round. And one of the questions I asked the woman, I don't remember it specifically, but she said, I don't know the answer. I said, well, just take a shot at it. What might, she said, Sven, I don't know. I said, excellent. Now go ahead and take a shot at it, knowing you can change your mind in 2 minutes. She's like, you're so frustrating. I said, I know, but go ahead now, answer the question. And very often when in fact, more often than not, in fact, pretty much every time, if you just take a guess at what it might be, more often than not, that's a bingo. And then you play around with, or maybe you've got 5 potential whys, play with them, write them each out, then ask yourself which one resonates most inside of you, like a string inside a concert grand piano. And then ask yourself, well, why does that one resonate most? Well, I think it's because that at the time, this is what was going on inside of me. Okay, so you're speculating, and you'll know if that speculation is truth because it will resonate, it will feel right inside of you. But your why is your golden ticket, baby. Stay with those whys. Keep going on them. And if he asks a follow-up question or something that's stumping him about the whys, please let me know.
As a matter of fact, he says, I often circle back to fear.
Well then, okay. So then, great. So if you circle back to fear, then it's asking yourself the question, well, what is it about that is so scary? Or the question you guys have heard me ask a million times, what's the scariest part? What's the hardest part? Or what is the one eventuality that is the worst case scenario? What is the thing that I most fear happening? I deal in mosts a lot. Fear most. What's the hardest part? What's the scariest part? Why? And I tell people, there may be a harder part. There's maybe, other hard parts, or maybe other scarier parts. But at the moment, what's the scariest part? And more often than not, the thing that is scariest or hardest or most overwhelming is the real issue. It's the biggest issue. Sure, there's other little stuff, but what's the biggest? Go ahead, Rob.
And he says, being alone.
Being alone, right. So then you got to ask yourself the question, well, what is it about being alone specifically that I don't like? Is it paying my own bills? Is it that I don't know how to drive my own car? No, it's not that. I'm willing to bet that when you are alone, all those voices come rising up inside of you and start tumbling around in your head, tumbling around, that say, see, you're a fucking loser. See, I'm alone. See, I'm no good. I don't like being alone. You get agitated when you're alone. Why? Because I don't like it. Well, why doesn't it feel good? Because in it, there are messages and where you need to drill down. And this is the purpose of the book. There's a hole in my love cup to drill down to what were the messages you were taught about yourself that now come bubbling up inside of you. I'm not wanted. I'm not wantable. I'm not good enough. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I'm unlovable the way I am. I'm not worthy of love. No one will ever love me. Who I am doesn't matter. Whatever those core messages are. And that's what the book will help you drill down to. Those are what comes bubbling up when you are alone. It's not just the being alone. So many people say, oh, I hate being alone. Yes, but what is it about it specifically? Because you're alone when you drive to the grocery store. Oh, wow, did you die? No. Oh, so it's not the being alone. What you mean is it's when I don't have someone. Right. So then what is it about having someone that makes you feel good? What fears are being assuaged, lessened, mitigated when you have someone, even if you're not with them all the time? See, so you got to tinker around with these fucking questions. All right, that was a great one. Jenny K. Dot on TikTok asked the question. Oh, this is a good one, you guys. I'm going to ask you all to ring in, if you would, with your answers. All right. We are going with live to everyone to help Jenny K. Dot answer this question. Jenny K. Dot asked the question, is it considered cheating if a man engages with OnlyFans girls? And now Rob is 76, and so he doesn't know what OnlyFans is. OnlyFans is based. Oh, you do? Okay.
I've heard about it.
I should not have stuttered, or I should clean the shit out of my mouth. Sorry about that. And so, folks, you want to chime in? Is it cheating if a man engages with women on OnlyFans? I've got LJ on TikTok saying yes. Your name here says yes. Wait in the boat says yes. Right. Steve Slavo's child says it depends on the boundaries in the relationship. Although that's actually a great point. Depends. Does the contract of the relationship allow for that sort of action? But my response to that Slavo's child is she wouldn't be asking the fucking question unless that went outside of the boundaries of the contract. However, that you got a good point there. To the person who asked this question, if it is okay in the contract of your relationship, but now you don't like it, well, then, no, it's not bad that he's going on OnlyFans, because you guys basically said, no, you can be online, you can talk to other women, looking at other women, paying to see other women naked. And believe it or not, in some relationships, that's okay. So now you're changing the terms of the relationship, though I'm willing to bet in this case that goes against the initial social contract that the two of you had, and you're pissed. And so Devil Blues says it is emotional cheating. Donnell says yes, it's cheating. Toombs Fam says yes, specifically if not open about it. Right. That if there is secrecy about it, obviously the person knows what they're doing is wrong and they're hiding it. They are admitting the fact that it's wrong. Right.
I'd say that's the distinction, because some women like to watch. And if the two people understand that, it's cool.
That's right. You've written it into the contract of the relationship. EJ says yes. Journey to Thriving says yes. Right. Here's a contrary opinion, if we're being fair. JJ's Wild Life says no, as long as he is taking care of your needs. Are you taking care of his? And so that's a fair question. I would shoot back, though. So then if she were doing similarly, taking care of his needs, and he's taking care of her needs, but she can just do whatever the fuck she wants, right? By that same logic. Even though it was likely implicit in their relationship, maybe even explicit, that you can't do these things. So the real issue isn't even just about cheating per se. It's about, is this a violation of an agreement, a previously made agreement? And I'm willing to bet that the mere fact that you asked that question says that you already know that it is a violation of a previous agreement. And the mere fact that you are asking it here when you likely know that it is a violation of a previous contract between the two of you says that this guy is saying, no, that's not cheating. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking it here. If he conceded the point, why would you need to ask here? No, you're asking because he's defending himself. No, that's not cheating. That's not cheating. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The question is, for you, is it? And is your reality enough for you? Because the bottom line, he is engaging in behavior that doesn't feel good to you, and you are saying, no, this hurts me. The question is also, additionally, not instead, but also, has he stopped? Would he stop? And if he is stopping, then that's good. But on the other hand, he's admitting that what he was doing before hurt you. Did he really? And why is he changing now? If what he did was no big deal, why is he stopping now? He would just be like, no, this is no big deal. I'm going to keep doing it. The mere fact that he's stopping now says that he acknowledges that what I am doing hurts you and I don't want to hurt you, so I'm going to stop. To which I would respond, oh, you didn't know it would hurt her before? Fuck you. You fucking knew. You're in a relationship with a woman and you don't know that you going on OnlyFans, looking at girls on OnlyFans is going to hurt your woman. So if you stop now while simultaneously defending what you did before by saying, no, it wasn't a big deal, that's not cheating, well, then why are you stopping? But if he does stop, he's fundamentally acknowledging that he knows it's wrong or he knows it hurts you. And so I'm going to stop for that reason. Well, then why'd you do it in the first place, fuckstick? He's trapped either way. All right, next question. It's kind of fun to pull those apart. Like, well, if he's saying this, then it's this. If they do that, well, then it's that and that. Fucked either way. I got to tell you guys, when I'm in counseling with someone and I ask them a question and I kind of want this answer because then I can just fucking drill them on this point that they've been avoiding. And then they'll give me like this opposite answer that maybe I didn't see coming or whatever, but it always cracks open some new reality or some question in my own head. And I'm like, oh, wow. Now, I had a question come at me earlier before the break, and it jumped. And it was a gentleman saying that he is a counselor and a project manager. And I don't have the question exactly in front of me, but I'm a counselor and a project manager and involved in the EMDR and so forth, and basically caught between two careers. What would you do, Sven? And I would simply say to you, which path is the path that breathes life into you, gives you energy, and which is the path that sucks life out of you. It's not about which is the light and which is the dark, or what does God want me to do, or the universe, or whatever. It's just which path gives you energy. Follow the path that gives you energy. And maybe you continue one job while you're going after the one that gives you more and more energy until that counseling path builds up, enough to live off of, or maybe it does already, or maybe you cut your standard of living so that you can do the counseling path more and more. But I am always just preaching one thing, and that is follow your energy. In the words of Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss. All right. Jason Rose asks the question on TikTok, how can I tell the difference between care and coercion? Great question, Jason. How does it feel? Even if you can't logically parse it out in your head, just ask yourself the question. See, care feels warm. It feels soft. It feels supported. Care with coercion, the mere fact you're trying to parse those two out says that coercion sometimes feels like care, or the care sometimes feels like coercion. If it feels like it's got an ick factor to it, or a pressure factor to it, or it's just something off about it, that's it. Your intuition is talking. That's coercion. That's leverage. That's manipulation. That's controlling. And it can come in small ways or in big ways. And oftentimes the smallest ways are the most insidious ways and do the most damage. Why? Because it's easy for them to say, oh, come on, it's no big deal. Or for them to say, I was just kidding. Come on, have a sense of humor. It's like, yeah, but you fucking said it. You weren't just kidding. That was fucking manipulation. All right? The way you know, Jason, is how does it feel? And so this is why we do the fucking journaling, you guys. This is why we go to deep therapy, not just how was your week shit. All right. This is why we write the letters to purge because the more you have this giant bundle of mangled, tangled feelings inside of you, the more you can't feel your authentic intuition speaking from within. The more you get all that other crud out of you, hack it and hack it and hack it out like a hairball out of a cat. Using journaling and using these other techniques that I talk about in my book, There's a Hole in My Love Cup. The more you do that, the more you have peace inside and you can connect to your own intuition and trust it and act on it effortlessly. But it's all those other jumble of emotions and expectations and all those other voices of other people in your life that get in the way and keep you from living your authentic self. Rob, you got one for me?
Yes, I do, sir. On YouTube, Jason Chavez says, my ex said she is scared to try again because she doesn't want it to all go down the drain. This is after we've communicated the hurt we've caused each other and that we still love each other and care. What do I do?
Do you want to know the boss move? The boss move, and this is like Zen Buddhist shit, man. Not that a lot of Zen Buddhist monks have fucking, girlfriends that they want to get back together with and shit like that. But honestly, what you got to do, what's his name, Jason?
Yes.
Jason, to be totally honest with you, if you really want the boss move, like where you've mastered yourself or you are mastering yourself, Get into your fucking, I know you guys have heard me say this a million times tonight. Normally I don't say this a million times in a fucking, lightning round, but get in your own feelings and start flushing them all out. Why? Because you're trying to force shit. You're trying to work your way upstream to make something happen up here, rather than just going with the flow and trusting that if you let it go and just let it go and just let it go. If she doesn't want to engage, let it go for now. Versus, how do I get her to engage is basically what he's saying, right? How do I get it to happen?
Yeah, what do I do? Apparently he does want to get back together and she's avoiding the issue.
And that's fine. So let it go. And you want it. But then, Sven, if I let it go, she won't do it. Okay. So let it go until you don't want to let it go anymore and until it just doesn't feel good. And then walk away. Because the truth is, when it's right, it flows. I absolutely believe this is a great quote, and I'm not a huge follower of them, but I've read a couple of their books, and I like a few things they say. Jerry and Esther Hicks, and she channels Abraham, whatever that means. But one of the things she wrote once in one of her books is everything you want is downstream. Nothing you want is upstream. Lift your oars. Trust. Take on sort of the spirit of the flower, of the tree, just of nature. Just trust that it will happen in its season if it is to happen. And if you grow tired of waiting, let it go and move on with your life. But the only way you're going to be able to do that boss move, that Zen Buddhist move, is to get out all the feelings that are causing you this anxiety that I got to have it, I got to have it, I got to have it. No, you got to let it go, let it go, let it go. And it's hard to let go of someone you really want to have a relationship with. Rob? Oh, I thought you had a follow-up.
Well, no. I was going to say row your boat gently down the stream, not up the stream. Right. How do you do it? Merrily. Why? Because life is but a dream.
That's it. And listen to that. Well played, Rob. And otherwise, we spend our lives fighting life, trying to create what it is that we think we want. And when it involves another person, you've at most got 50% of the control versus just letting it go, trusting that if it is not this person, then it will be someone who is actively and eager, excited to be with you. And I've been there. I had to let go of two wives that I loved very much. One divorced me, and the second one I divorced. And I'm presently, after divorcing my second wife, then I met a woman 10 years later who I've now been with for 12 years. That's the best relationship I've ever had in my life. But if you would have told me that back then, I would have said, fuck you. I don't want to let go of this one because it was so great. All right. Next question. Oh, here we go. Tombs Fam says, it's a two-part question. My ex makes significantly more money than me since the divorce, and my epilepsy starting. Since the divorce and my epilepsy starting. She uses her financials and time with them against me. How can I help this? Stand up to her when she's doing anything against you. Why is she using something against you? She clearly has feelings of animus, anger, hurt towards you. How about you two sitting down and talking about what the hell is really going on? Not in those moments when you guys are inflamed with emotions, but saying we need to sit down and talk about this and starting to have conversations. But before you have that conversation, sit down with your own self and write her 2, 4, 6 letters of all the things you really want to say. Flush it out, flush it out, flush it out, so that when you are going into this conversation with her, you are going in calm. And you know the 1 or 2 or 3 main points that you want to hit. Now, most people don't do this. Why? They just want to dive right into having the conversation. It's like, well, you can do that, and that might yield some fruit. I'm just telling you what the best course is. Why? Because you're getting out all your charged emotions. But at some point, you need to sit down and talk with her and tell her, I don't want you to do this. This hurts me. And if she doesn't listen or won't acknowledge her stuff, then you're left facing this notion that someone I care about, assuming you're listening to her too, and you're honoring her needs as well, where it's not 75-25, 75 me, 25 you, or vice versa. But if you're doing that as well, then you have every right to have your needs met and to have someone you love not hurt you. And she's trying to hurt you. If she's using those against you, then she's clearly trying to hurt you. And so then a conversation needs to be had about, why are you trying to hurt me? What have I done to you? What do you think I've done to you, etc.? All right, next question.
Time for one more.
All right. Eric the Gremlin Cook asks, how do I leave an abusive, unfaithful relationship peacefully? Well, I'll answer your question, but I want you to answer a question first, and I'm not going to be able to read your answer because these questions just fly by so quickly. But the question you need to ask yourself is, why do you want to leave peacefully? I'm not saying you shouldn't. I think that's actually a good goal. But I want you to answer the question anyway, in your own journaling. Why do you want to leave the relationship peacefully? How do I leave an abusive, unfaithful relationship peacefully? Why do you want to leave it peacefully? And what I would ask as the follow-up question is, what is your fear? What is the fear that if it's not peaceful, what do you fear about it being not peaceful, about being confrontational, about it being in your face? What do you fear? Do you fear this person saying mean things to you? Do you fear hurting their feelings? Do you fear that it'll just be bad blood and you want a kumbaya, you want their blessing on the departure? The mere fact that you're wanting to be peaceful and maybe wanting their blessing or wanting them to not say something says that they still have power over you. They have something that you want, even if it's just peace in the departure. They have something that you want. And you've heard me say it a million times before. Anytime someone has something that you want, they have the power. They have power over you. They have the power to make you miserable by withholding it. So this person has power over you because you want something. And once you no longer want or need the peaceful exit, once you no longer fear some outcome, then you'll just break it up and you'll just say, hey, listen, this has been great. I thank you for this relationship. Thanks for the memories and so forth. It's truly not working for me or whatever. If you want to say your reasons, I generally don't recommend getting into, someone's going to say, well, why, what's wrong with me or whatever. Don't get into pointing out what you think is wrong with them. Nobody wins from that. And you're just going to cause that person to be neurotic. And so my point is simply this, that once you no longer want something, whether it's fear or not wanting to hurt them or whatever, you can be kind, yet firm in your exit and just say, listen, it has to stand for X, Y, and Z. And if it's not peaceful, you don't have to contribute to the unpeacefulness. But as long as you're not so looped in, it has to be peaceful. It has to be peaceful. Then you won't be afraid of doing it. Your fear is because you need it to be peaceful. Let go of needing that, and then you'll just do the breakup. And it's hard. And breaking up with someone is just fucking hard. It's just hard, especially when you love the person. There are a few things in life harder than breaking up. Ending a relationship, you doing it when you still have love for that person, but you know you just got to do it. It's hard. It just is, and we all know it. And I don't envy you on that one, brother, but you're going to be just fine. All right, folks, this has been a great lightning round. Lots of good questions, a lot of variety. I like the variety. I want to thank everyone who has tuned in around the world to this episode of the Badass Counseling Show Lightning Round. Always great questions, and I've allowed myself to stand back up because it feels good to stand and answer questions, and I just feel good energy, good juice with you guys tonight. This has been great. So thank you so much. Rob, any final thoughts?
You're juiced. I'll end with a song lyric, which is the reason we're all here, and it is the thought that life could be better is written indelibly into our hearts and our brains.
The thought that life could be better is written indelibly into our thoughts and our brains.
Our hearts
and our brains.
Yes.
Who sang that?
Paul Simon.
Paul Simon, the master, in one of his classics or lesser knowns?
Lesser known, Train in the Distance.
Wow. That's when he was solo by that time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, shall leave it on the Paul Simon note from the master of music, Rob the Rocket. Thank you so much, Rob, and thanks to KC over in the booth. And thanks to all of you for your questions. On behalf of my team, I can say only slay your demons, slay your fucking demons, and have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.